Not much. Morning.
Morning. How you feeling about your hockey team based on the last 11 games and specifically what we saw last night?
Well, I feel like they need to get healthy. It's really starting to add up having your two best defensemen on the lineup. I think you saw that in the second period last night. Joe Sacco talked about having a hard time moving pucks out of their own zone, and that's what happens when you're missing 40 to 50 minutes of top talent on the back end.
Now, with some of the comments that Cam Neely had last week or maybe 2 weeks ago about, look, we got to we don't know which direction we're going to go in right now. Trade deadline coming up in about a month and a half. Buyers or sellers. You're looking at the standings. So many teams kind of fighting for those final couple of spots. How much does this team need to consider the option of trading somebody like Brad Marchand?
Zero. You're not trading Brad Marchand. Hopefully get, you gotta work the deadline. You can't trade 9 guys for, the rights to 7, 18-year-old kids that are playing major junior in Canada. It just doesn't work like that. So, it's, they're in a spot to still get a playoff push. I know that's not fun to talk about on the radio. It doesn't get clicks, but the reality is they're 2 points out of a player, 1 point out of whatever it is. And if 35 games left, again, they get some health, they get their game back. They're in a position to continue this push late in the season. So there's essentially 2 deadlines here with the Four Nations coming up. So it'll be interesting if teams really push to get something done before that break, and the Bruins have 8 games before that. Or if everyone in the league stands pat and waits till the March 7th date. So that's what's interesting, if teams are making moves or going early, or if the East is just so logjam that everyone just kind of stands pat.
I'm curious why you're so against the idea of trading Marchand, only because he's not under contract for next year. The team does look like they're teetering on a playoff spot, so maybe in a month, if you're in the playoffs, maybe that answers the decision. But if you're on the outside, he's probably one of the only guys you could really get something for outside of like the young guys who I don't think you're going to trade at all because they're under contract, Pastrnak, Swayman, and McAvoy. But this team probably needs a bit of a retooling, does it not?
Well, what do you get? Are you getting Connor McDavid for him, or what are you trading?
Like a first-round pick.
I would do it for
top
McDavid
10 or top 30. So just so the 22nd pick in the NHL draft is basically 8% of the time they get to 300 games in their career. This isn't the NFL where your first round pick plays in your starting lineup next week. It's a long process, and when you have a guy who's a Hall of Famer, your captain, just doesn't typically get traded.
You were on the team when Joe Thornton got traded, right? And that obviously blew up.
That went well.
It went real well. They got a good return on the Thornton. What was that like? How did you find out about it, and what was the reaction? I can only imagine what the reaction was by the team.
Yeah, not happy. Our season basically ended that day. And of course he went on and won the MVP that season. So yeah, it was frustrating. That was, we were of course good friends, same age, basically same place in the world from. So that wasn't a good day. And it was certainly, a day that, again, it really affected our season that year.
Okay, but couldn't you argue that was for the greater good of the moving on from Thornton long-term was a good thing for the organization?
How?
Because you got out a guy who, I don't know, had what it takes to lead a team to win a cup, and they ultimately turned the team over and won a cup.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the narrative in the hockey world for the last 20 years on that deal. It didn't really go that well. Again, he won MVP that season. That's the only time that's ever happened in major pro sports that an MVP was traded in season.
Yeah, I'm not saying they got a good return, just, subtracting Thornton long-term paid dividends. I would argue. How do you think the Marchand captaincy has gone? If you had to grade the Marchand captaincy last year, this year, how do you think that's gone?
I don't know. I pretty good. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a guy that the guys respect a whole lot in the dressing room. He's continued the culture. I know there are a couple games over 500 and not breaking records this year, but very well respected and very well liked from everybody kind of around the team.
What did you make of the benching in overtime and then not being a part of the shootout the other night from Sacco?
Yeah, I mean, he made a bad turnover, and again, there's accountability with this team, and when you didn't, have a great third period, or the coach sees something and he goes with different guys, that sometimes is the case.
Who do you think Cam Neely was talking about? I know you don't think it's Brad Marchand. We're talking Andrew Raycroft, the Razor of Nesson here on Jones and Keefe. Who do you think Neely's talking about when he says we got to retool? There's two avenues. We got to look at either adding or retooling. He brought that up. Who do you think he's talking about?
Well, I think the retool is related to the way I hear retool in hockey is, we thought a couple of these guys were this, or we thought our team was this, but it's actually that, and we need to figure out and get the right pieces in place to be that kind of a team rather than the one we thought we were in July.
So who, though?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even think about that. Of course, you always look at like you talked about with Brad, look at free agents. Those are typically the guys. You don't typically move guys with a lot of term at deadlines. Those are typically moves that get made at the draft and in the summer. So you go through the free agents and the guys that possibly, again, tool better somewhere else, and maybe you can get something back that will help your program, in a different way.
One of the few positives over the last 10, 12 games has been the play of some of these young guys. They've been given an opportunity for the young guys. And, maybe if they do decide to move on from some of the veterans, not that, you're going to get this big push and make the playoffs, but at least you're getting a chance to see some of these guys and know what you have at least for next season, right?
Yeah, and they're doing that in the minors. Of course, there's always evaluating being done there, and unfortunately, not every young guy makes it to the NHL. Not every young guy's good enough to make the NHL. It's hard, and you have to find that out. You have to grind your way through the minors at different times. I think Matty Potch is a great example. He goes to the minors, and everyone was up in arms, but he's gotten better because of it. He's been able to practice more, and he's come back a different player, and I think that's there's benefits to that. So yeah, there's times, and you can find spots, but again, I think this team's in a position where they're not, it's not a development team. This is a team that still has eyes on the playoffs.
Okay. If you have eyes on the playoffs, you're looking to add at the deadline. That's what you want to do?
If possible, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Where do they need to add?
Well, certainly you can find, you can always use, if there's a scoring option, if there's that's been a struggle at certain times. The defense right now, if you're going to continue to have injuries, or if these injuries last a little bit longer, you can look that way. But again, we're still 6 weeks away from that, so that can get dialed in a little bit more in the next few weeks.
Okay, Andrew Raycroft of Nesson. You can check him out there every Thursday here on a Bruins Thursday with Jones and Keefe, the Razor. We appreciate it, Razor. Thanks so much.